You have tuned into The Ascension Show. Join T-Bone, Reverend Todd, and Northern Rebel for a kink-slanted free-form conversation podcast with topics related to healthy sexuality and the world around us. So we're here today talking about erotic hypnosis, and we brought Mark Wiseman onto the show. There's been some talk before we started this rolling, getting to know each other, and then you know that there is T-Bone, Reverend Todd, and Northern Rebel.
Yo.
Say hi, Mark.
Hey, how you doing?
So Mark is an author of 2 books. He's a hypnotherapist, and he's into erotic hypnosis. He also is one of the organizers of an erotic hypnosis con. Tell us about your books a little bit first, Mark.
The first book is Mind Play, A Guide to Erotic Hypnosis. That came out in 2013. I did an updated version of it just last year that came out in September 2017. That is the introductory guide that tells people how to get started in erotic hypnosis, how to find the community, how to find places to learn more about it from. It also will teach a few inductions, and there's a chapter called Kinky Human Tricks, which is all about fun things to do with a hypnotized brain. So that's the introduction book. A couple of years later, 2015, I did the Mind Play Study Guide. The study guide is the master course. There's about 20 inductions in there. There's entire different chapters dedicated to things like doll play, generating arousal, giving people orgasms, things like that.
So is that like the next level?
It's really, the study guide is written as a series of lessons. So you can either use it as a textbook and go topic by topic by topic. I also designed it so that each chapter stands independent, so that if you are trying to run a study group, for example, you can say, oh crap, my speaker just backed out on me at the last minute. All right, chapter 17, here we go. We have a 1-hour lesson.
Gotcha.
Oh, cool.
Do they use it? Do people use it as in classes? Like,
they do.
Is it actually a book that, like, in college, say there's a college class offered that they use that as a material?
They could. I actually use it when I'm training professional hypnotists if they're kinky.
Nice.
I give them a copy of it. There is a study group in New England that I know that started off using the book, and I think there's a couple others. So yeah, I mean that's what I wrote it for. So it's.
I totally want to start one of those study groups.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we'll have to get a hold of the book.
The study guide is on Amazon exclusively. The original book is on Amazon and also Smashwords.
Okay.
So I think because I'm really absolutely dumb on this subject.
I'm glad you said on this subject.
And I'm dumb on a lot of subjects, but on this subject I'm especially dumb. So I wondered maybe if you could kind of explain, first off, how does hypnosis itself work? And then how do you eroticize it?
Okay. Well, how hypnosis itself works. That's really kind of interesting all by itself. The written history of hypnosis goes back about 4,000 years. In all that time, we still don't know exactly how it works.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we know some basic things. Through experimentation, we kind of figured out that, okay, consistently, when people go into hypnosis, they become very focused, usually focused on one thing and kind of ignoring other things that are happening around. Although they're aware, they simply choose not to acknowledge. Okay. We know that while they're in that state, they tend to be open to suggestion. So they are more likely to accept an idea that you introduce to them in that state than they are when they're in their normal everyday waking state. And we know that they dissociate a little bit. They kind of mentally step outside themselves a little bit. And that distance is one of the interesting characteristics of a trance state.
Okay.
Now, we pretty much had to take it on faith that, yeah, this is a real thing. And in fact, a lot of the professional, white lab coat type folks promote the idea that no, there is no such thing as hypnosis. It's just social compliance. People are acting that way because they think that's how they're supposed to act.
Oh, I've run into my share of people who who don't believe in hypnosis, and
Oh yeah.
you can't really argue with them. We're breaking in real quick to let you know we're currently running a giveaway for leaving a review of the show on iTunes. Lucky winner could end up with a $25 iTunes gift card. Contest ends February 28th. Android users, we have one coming up for you soon too. You can find the giveaway link on our website, theascensionshow.com, our Facebook page, The Ascension Show, and Twitter, @AscensionShow. Thank you for listening in, and you have our eternal gratitude for your support. Because they believe what they believe, and that's the end of it for them. They don't think past that point.
Exactly. They're not skeptics. They're closed-minded. I love skeptics because they show skeptics evidence and they're willing to think about anything.
Right.
Now, as it happens, about 15 years ago, 2004-ish, we started actually getting medical, physical evidence that proves that hypnosis is actually a unique state of consciousness. If you hook somebody up to a functional MRI while they're in a waking state and hypnotize them, functional MRI will follow and show you changes in their brain activity, consistent, repeatable changes. So now we know, oh wow, this actually is a real thing, which is cool.
Okay.
But we're still not sure why those particular changes produce that result.
Yeah.
But that gives us something to argue with the skeptics with.
It does, but I don't argue with it.
Well, right.
It's not what I say. So if they're actually skeptics, it's not an argument. It's well, let me tell you the information I know.
Correct.
If they're, the closed-minded type, then it doesn't matter.
Or skeptics are at least open to the possibility. Like I'm a skeptic, but I'm open to the possibility.
Mm-hmm. Right. If you see evidence that says, "Oh, wait a minute, this might be a thing," you'll consider it.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe in alien autopsies, though. I'm pretty hardcore on that one.
I've never seen one. So, so that's how it works. And honestly, we don't know. We just know that it does. And like in on many other fields, basically what hypnotists do is we make stuff up. We try it out. The stuff that works, we do again. The stuff that doesn't work, we forget about.
Mm-hmm. Is that for everyone, or is that just in general?
Well, hypnosis in general. That's how we do it. We're also online.
No, I mean these things that you try and give up and whatever. Is that individual? Is that individual based, or is that in general?
In general, we try stuff out. If it works on a few people, we say, "Hey, this might be a thing," and we keep trying it. Nothing works for everybody. So we are,
right.
And really, people like to say that hypnosis is a science, and I really don't like that because so much of it is subjective. That was the mistake the white lab coat folks made back in the 50s when they were trying to quantify, who's hypnotizable and who isn't. If you take a grad student and have them read the exact same boring script to 100 people, and only 20 of them go into hypnosis, that means to the lab coat types that only 20% of the population can be hypnotized.
Right.
But if you take those same 100 people and let them work interactively one-on-one with somebody that knows what they're doing, probably north of 90 of them will get hypnotized.
Okay.
A lot of hypnosis is about communication, two-way communication, adapting to the response you get, and changing your approach to match the brain that you're playing with, or doing therapy with, So the more tools a hypnotist has in their mental toolbox, the more effective they can be.
Well, couldn't you say, that's kind of true of pretty much any therapy approach, that we've learned therapy approaches and adapted therapy approaches based on what was effective and what wasn't effective, and we got rid of what wasn't effective?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Anything that involves, dealing with people as actual thinking beings as opposed to as chemistry and whatnot. For chemistry is pretty solid. Same chemical tends to get you the same results, maybe varying slightly by degree. But anytime you start messing with minds, every mind is different, so that same process applies. Yeah, the psychologists do the same thing. That's why there are so many different disciplines within psychology. These are different approaches, any of which can be valid for a particular person.
All right. So is that where the hidden observers coming into effect? Is that why it's so much different person to person?
Well, the hidden observer is a thing that everybody has. That was something that Erickson first talked about. Milton Erickson, the famous hypnotist from the 20th century. The hypnobserver is that little piece in the back of your mind that's always kind of watching. My favorite way to explain it, when Trog the caveman was out stalking his prey, the hypnobserver was that little piece of his mind that was always looking out to see whether anything was stalking him. So the hypnobserver evaluates every suggestion you get, no matter how deeply in hypnosis you get, no matter how much you trust the person you're getting it from, the hypnobserver is there. And if something comes up, a suggestion comes in that is unacceptable, obviously self-destructive, dangerous, you don't trust this person enough to do that, that sort of thing, its job is to stop that.
So if
you
I
lost me at caveman.
Correlate that to something that I can really relate to?
Sure.
No, it's not an analogy.
He needs an analogy.
So I've done stage acting at certainly the unpaid amateur level, but quite a bit of it actually. And there is a thing when you're on stage, there's a part of you that is the character that you're playing and knows all the lines that you're supposed to say and everything else, but there's also this other part of you that is kind of disconnected from that is aware of what's going on by other people on stage and making sure that you hit your marks and knowing that you've got to cross stage right to stage left on this line so that you can be in the right place so that this other person can be talking when their line comes up. And it kind of handles the mechanics of all of that, but it's disconnected from you playing the character on stage to a certain extent. That's kind of how I correlate it in my head, at least. I'm thinking.
That's a similar idea.
The way to describe it.
Mm-hmm. That's a skill set that you develop more than anything else.
Right.
When we talk about the hidden observer, that's something that is inherently there. It's kind of our self-preservation.
Okay. So it's just something we've developed. It comes right from I call it the lizard brain.
Yes.
What is that? The medulla oblongata.
Yeah, it's probably a little bit higher up the evolutionary chain than that.
Okay.
But one of the theories about what hypnosis is actually suggests that it is the evolution of that whole fight or freeze thing.
Okay.
Billy Schilling, who does a lot of research on neuroscience and hypnosis and NLP, puts that theory forward. And he's got some pretty compelling evidence to go behind it. But that's not sexy.
Okay, so
let's talk about sexy stuff.
So what you're saying is, I mean, pretty much there's not really pretty much anybody might be able to be hypnotized. It's just that there's different things that work for different people in order to make that happen. Is that fair?
Exactly. My experience, there's three groups of people that cannot be hypnotized.
Mm-hmm.
The first group is people that have had something severely physically happen to their brain. We're talking severe injury or deformity or something that stops them from being able to concentrate.
Right.
As you can imagine, those folks are extremely rare. I'm not talking, ADHD or something like that. I'm talking really, really severe.
You're talking actual brain injury.
Okay. Second group.
Like Trump? Just kidding.
That's pretty serious brain injury right there.
Politics on the first day. Second group is people that have recently imbibed or ingested some sort of substance that interferes with their concentration. They're already in an altered state and are probably enjoying themselves anyway. Once that wears off, sure, they can be hypnotized.
Okay.
Group three, people who don't want to be.
People who don't want to be?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the biggest group, but of course membership in that group tends to be transient. Maybe this isn't the right environment. Maybe they don't trust me. Maybe they'd rather be hypnotized by a woman. Maybe they'd rather be hypnotized by a queer person. Maybe they had a fight with their significant others and they're really not in the mood. All kinds of things can affect that.
Gotcha.
Maybe they got a headache.
Maybe they got a headache.
Maybe they're trying to prove a point. Who knows?
And that happens too. People will, every once in a while, I'll get somebody who'll come up to me at like a con or something and go, hey, you know what? I've had like 20 people try to hypnotize me and none of them were able to do it. You want to try? I say no. It's okay. That's fine.
That's okay. I'll pass.
Yeah, I just I don't feel the need to try to prove anything to anybody.
Right.
So I used to. When I was new to this, I would take every one of those challenges. And tragically, amazingly, almost none of those people got hypnotized. It's almost as if that was what they were expecting, so that's what they got.
So now the big question is, okay, now that we know that pretty much everybody can be hypnotized except for those who don't want to be or have brain injury or something like that. How do you then make it sexy? Because making people cluck like a chicken is
Are you naked when you're doing
sexy
it?
for some people, but that's a small.
Because I'm thinking if you were naked while you're doing it, that would make it really sexy for me.
You've never seen me naked.
It does tend to ratchet up the sexy if either or both of you are naked at the time. Yes, it does ratchet up the sexy. But really, honestly, what makes it sexy varies from person to person, just like what case people are into vary from person to person. For a lot of people, they really dig the fantasy of giving control to somebody else. And if you're into power exchange, I mean, this is a great way to practice and exercise a really interesting degree of power exchange. So I've done a lot of scenes with people whose major hot button is just to be controlled. For somebody like that, it almost doesn't matter what you make them do.
Wow.
Now, do you do that as part of your service? Or
I describe myself as a service top. Sometimes, if I'm feeling particularly stuffy, I'll say full service top. My wife gets the full service treatment,
but not everyone else does.
Well, if I like them. And, okay, there are certain limits that I have that I only cross with my wife by agreement. But that's okay, because...
Are you poly?
No, I'm not. I am a boring, monogamous guy.
Just asking.
Nothing boring with that.
I know, it seems like we're a minority, though, because almost everybody you run into in the scene, it seems like it's either poly or thinking about it.
Yeah, the thinking about it would include T-Bone, that's for sure. But anyway, you were saying.
So, right, what's sexy about it? So for a lot of people, it's control. For other people, there are particular things that just really turn them on. People that are into bondage, that are into impact play, you can use hypnosis to tie people up and whack them across the body with whatever implement they like, all inside their imagination. Which is really cool because you don't have to explain to the TSA why you've got shackles and floggers and handcuffs in your luggage.
That's true. They frown on those, by the way.
Yeah, they get a little bit uptight, I hear. I travel light. At most, I've got
you gotta check
a couple
that bag.
of shiny things and a pocket watch or two. So, okay, and a sonic screwdriver.
Doctor Who fan.
Hey, there's a lot of Doctor Who fans in the erotic hypnosis community.
Wait, which sonic screwdriver? That's the trick, though.
I have a collection.
Oh.
Lately, I've been carrying Capaldi's around because it's the most recent.
All right, so now he keeps that geek award then. Got to have more than one.
Well, Capaldi's is nice because it's got 4 different sound effects and 4 different light patterns. I did a really interesting interrogation scene with somebody a year or 2 ago where I tied the different sounds to different responses. So like one sound was pain, or actually literally it was fingernails on a blackboard type thing. I wanted something really, really annoying. Another one was pleasure. Another one was disinhibition.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. So I basically used that to carrot and stick them. All the way through the interrogation stage, which was ridiculous fun.
Oh, I can see how that could be fun.
Oh yeah. So there are so you can emulate, because the subconscious mind is where all of our sensory inputs get processed first. You can really mess with somebody's perceptions when you've got a good handle on their subconscious mind. More Doctor Who geekery. You can do perception filters. And I do this as a demo sometimes in a class. I'll do a class called Hypnotic Head Games. And I'll take two volunteers that are friends, and I'll make one of them unable to perceive the other.
Really?
And then the other person will walk around talking to them, and they don't hear anything, waving a hand in front of their face, and they don't react. Yeah, it's fun.
So that's kind of like making them forget numbers and things of that nature.
Forget numbers? Yeah, I mean, hypnotic amnesia is a thing, all by itself, and that's another hot button for a lot of people, being made to forget stuff temporarily or
well, that brings up an interesting question on whether or not do people generally remember what happens in a session, or is it something that you can just wipe out when the session's done? Say, you'll no longer remember this.
I don't do that. It is theoretically possible, but it's unspeakably slimy unless it's something that they ask for.
Oh, so yeah, it seems like it would be unethical to do that.
Yeah, well, again, if it's negotiated, it's what they want, then it's not so much an ethical thing.
Right.
But my attitude is, I want you to remember how awesome your brain is.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to know what you were capable of doing and how well it worked. And I want you to remember. So I will usually, unless there's a pre-negotiated reason not to, I tell them on the way out. Remembering clearly and completely means everything that we just did.
Now, have you ever found that someone, even though you gave them the suggestion to remember everything clearly and completely, that they still didn't remember everything clearly and completely?
Yeah, sometimes they don't, and usually that's because they weren't paying attention. They were a little bit more zonked out than I wanted them to be.
Okay.
And usually if they think about it, or if they need to know, it'll come back. Just like if I tell them not to remember something. If they need that data, it comes back. Nobody ever really forgets anything just because of what they just told you.
Gotcha. That's important.
But it's a fun little conspiracy that we can get into your subconscious mind.
Oh, yes.
If you really want to know about amnesia, the absolute best resource on that is somebody else's book. Leah Lord and BJ Pynchon published a book a year or two ago called Hypnotic Amnesia. It is an absolutely phenomenal book. Not just about how to forget stuff, although there's 20 some odd different ways to get somebody to forget something in there, but it's also a great example of how a really, really good natural hypnotist works. Because the book is transcripts of sessions that Leah Lord did with DJ, where he got more and more adept at amnesia as they went along. But when the little things that they left in there are things like Lee trying something out, getting a result other than what she wanted, and then adapting, finding out why that got the reaction it did, and then adapting to get the reaction she was going for. You can learn so much about hypnosis just from that, even if you're not interested in amnesia.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah.
So what made you go from hypnosis to kinky hypnosis?
I actually went from kinky hypnosis fantasy to actual mundane training back to kinky hypnosis. I started out writing erotic hypnosis fiction back in the late 1990s.
Smut books.
Smut stories anyway, which did ultimately lead to a smut book called Busman's Holiday. It was just published on MC Stories. It's never been out anywhere that you had to pay for. But it's 90-odd thousand words. It's a book.
Nice.
And then, I was interested in it, obviously, because I was writing porn about it. So I got professional training, and I started doing professional hypnosis. And I said, hey, now that I really know what I'm doing, I bet you I can write even better porn. And then about 10 years ago, the community started to get itself together and start having events and meetups and things. In fact, the anniversary, the ninth NEHU, New England Erotic Hypnosis Conference, is coming up next month. That was the first one of the National Community Hypnosis Conference. I fell in with Neffy and the group in New England that was starting all of that, and
that would be the New England Leather Alliance, right? You're talking about the Fetish Fleet?
The New England Leather Alliance are also very big on us. Originally, though, they were not part of it.
Okay.
Neffy kind of joined forces with them, and the New England Hypnosis group was formed. And lots and lots of cool stuff you can develop from there.
Cool.
So, yeah, I'm going to the Fetish Fair Fleet. Well, okay, it's February 15th today. I'm going there tomorrow, teaching classes at the Fleet, staffing the hypnosis lounge at the Fleet. Then I'm going to go do a talk, a class for the study group in Boston.
Nice.
Yeah, so anyway, while I'm up there, I might as well hit off the stuff. But I started going to cons and teaching at cons. I got to a point where I realized eventually I'm not going to be able to go to every con. And how else can I get this information out there? That's where the books get.
Right, right.
So what do you aspire to next then? I mean, can you just becoming a better hypnotist, or?
You can always get better.
Sure.
You can always get better. One of the things, the longer I do this, the longer I am forced to realize and face the fact that none of us really knows that much what we're doing. We're always relearning it because it's always changing.
Right.
And that's kind of cool.
Well, people evolve and change, so therefore it has to evolve and change with the people.
Sounds like being in IT.
Exactly.
Right, pretty much.
Which is my day job.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah, so what's next for me is actually to retire from the day job and be a hypnotist full time and hopefully be able to be wise guy a lot more of the time.
Nice.
This is a part-time gig right now.
So this is just your part-time.
This is his fun time
Yeah.
gig.
This is what I do. I do this when I introduce myself in front of classes. Say, hi, I'm Mark Wiseman. I'm a professional hypnotist. I'm a teacher of professional hypnotists. I do this for fun.
Yes. Now, ab reactions.
Which I do.
Ab reactions are an ab reaction is
Yes.
fairly common, I would think, when people are under hypnosis. And all an ab reaction is an unexpected result to a suggestion. Correct?
I don't really like that definition,
Okay.
though. Now, that is a definition that gets used a lot in the erotic hypnosis community. As a professional, an ab reaction is an intense emotional release that comes about during a hypnosis session.
Okay.
It's usually, in therapy terms, it's usually something you tried to cause, as opposed to something you to avoid. And its purpose is for the client to get closure or catharsis, to help get them over a trauma or an incident. Within the erotic hypnosis community, an ab reaction, a lot of people say, it's anything you didn't expect. No. When you get a reaction that you didn't expect from a suggestion, that's not an ab reaction necessarily. It's you didn't plan something. Or it's spontaneous, and that's fine. An ab reaction is generally very unpleasant to witness and emotionally disturbing. People shake, people sob, people scream, people reach out and punch out sometimes. That's an ab reaction, and a recreational hypnotist who finds themselves dealing with one of those, it doesn't happen very often, fortunately. It's scary as crap when it does. All they can do is, okay, let's get this person out of that state and awake quickly and gently.
So that would be pretty comparative to someone who's triggered during a scene, say an S&M scene, and something causes a trigger that knocks them back to some past abuse.
Yes.
So that's basically what you're talking about there with that type of release.
Yeah. You ask me about an ab reaction, that's what I'm talking about. The other thing is just, oh, crap, which you have to do that.
Well, I've actually.
Fortunately, they don't happen super often, but they do happen. And when you're messing with people and playing with people, in their emotions, it can happen. It can happen a little more easily even than when you're being in love.
Yeah, it's happened. I've actually disassociated a couple of times from a trigger
In an S&M scene.
in a scene.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's no licensing, if I remember correctly, to be a hypnotist or hypnotherapist.
It depends on where you are.
Are there certain states now that are requiring some form of licensing or licensure?
There's a couple states that have pretty specific rules about what your training has to be and what you're allowed to call yourself if you don't have a mental health license or degree. But also, even just worldwide, hypnosis is regulated differently everywhere. There are some countries where it's just flat out illegal.
Really?
There are countries where, sure, go ahead. hang up your shingle, call yourself a hypnotherapist, not a problem. Generally speaking, in the United States, if you are not certified, trained in psychology, psychiatry, social work, some kind of mental health field, you cannot call yourself a hypnotherapist without running afoul of the American Psychiatric Association.
Okay.
Unlicensed practice of psychology is illegal in almost every state. It's just a question of what it takes to be guilty of that.
Gotcha.
So that's why I call myself a hypnotist, not a hypnotherapist,
Okay.
for official purposes. I happen to live in Maryland, where technically I could probably get away with using that term, but I don't feel any need to poke the monster.
Right. Why poke them if they're not already looking?
Exactly.
Now, NLP, I've heard the terms thrown around a lot. Neuro-linguistic programming, for those that don't know what NLP stands for.
Yes.
Now, are we using an NLP or a form of NLP with hypnosis to when we've got them under and we're trying to plant some suggestions? Are we using a form of NLP, or NLP is just basically when you're talking like you and I are right now, and you're using you speak in a rhythm and a tone to kind of program? What exactly is it, I guess, is what I'm getting at.
So NLP is something that I actually teach NLP. I teach through the National Federation of NLP. So honestly, it's a mongrel. It's sort of the English language of mind study, because nothing in NLP is original to NLP. It's all stuff that they took from somewhere else. Some successful therapists like Virginia Satir, Milton Erickson, Fritz Perls, people like that said, let's see if we can copy this and make an army war of Fritz Perls. Now, they totally failed in that. But what they did do was a massive collection of tools that they had borrowed from other places and then slapped a druggedy name on.
Gotcha.
So when we talk about NLP, it's an umbrella. Usually when people say, oh, you're using NLP, what they're talking about is very specifically something called waking suggestion, or sometimes called covert hypnosis.
Right.
And yeah,
right.
that would be if we were, there was something I wanted to get you to do for me. If just for the fun of it, if I really decided I had the hots for T-Bone and wanted to try to get it on with T-Bone, I might lower my voice a little bit to get it to kind of really pay attention to me. And I might start using certain language constructions that are designed to kind of plant little subtle suggestions about connection and sexy things and get her kind of aroused and thinking in that direction. I would be an absolute sleazebag for doing it.
Right.
Unless we had negotiated.
I like dirty talk.
At some point. Okay. I mean, if we negotiated as something where, hey, I want to do a scene where you use covert hypnosis to try to pick me up, then, okay, fine, I've got permission. But of course, there's people that, go into single bars and, try to target the person that they want to take home with them or take to a cheap hotel with them or whatever. And when it works, they're all proud of themselves for their NLP skills. They're not really stopping to consider why that other person is in a single car to start with.
Right.
But, I mean, you see it also in advertising. You also see other aspects of NLP that people don't talk about a lot, of things like submodalities, which are ways of mapping things in the brain that can be useful and interesting, but they don't have a lot of application to play and sexy stuff.
Right.
So, NLP and hypnosis are kissing cousins. A lot of NLP is taken from hypnosis. It was one of the people they modeled possessed. So, when we talk in that sense about using NLP, we're talking about waking suggestions, which are just giving suggestions to somebody without hypnotizing the person. Sometimes they'll sort of trance out while they're listening to you, and sometimes it just kind of slips in, and sometimes they just completely ignore it.
Gotcha.
Okay, I seriously want to get to the part where he makes me come.
T-Bone's had enough of the facts.
It's all boring. It's boring. I want to get to the fucking
She wants
make me come.
Yeah, she wants the sexy
Hey,
stuff.
you know what? We can do that a lot. In fact, sometimes we get too much emphasis on that in the community because it's like, well, if you can't make somebody come with suggestion, you're really not that good at hypnosis yet. there are so many other things that you can do, but yeah, you can totally give somebody an orgasm through hypnosis. I mean, there's, go Google hands-free orgasm. You'll see bajillions of like YouTube recordings.
But is that orgasm a real physical orgasm, or is it just it's the implant or the memory of what an orgasm feels like in your mind?
Oh, what is a real orgasm?
Well, that's a good question.
Remember
That's a good
It depends on who you're asking. It depends on who you're asking. If you're asking Paul, then it'd be a different answer than if you're asking me.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point.
Mm-hmm.
For Paul, I mean, is it fair to say that it's not a real orgasm unless you ejaculate?
Correct. That would be for me. It would be correct.
See,
and yes, in erotic hypnosis, one of the things that a lot of males do is they go out and they learn how to orgasm without doing that.
So they have like a wet dream, so to speak.
Well, no, because the wet dream
That's
is
what's wet.
But it gives you the emotional impact and the endorphin rush and all that other stuff. But because they didn't ejaculate, there's no refractory period, and they can do it again and again and again.
Ah, interesting.
Female doms want to train male subs to do that.
Interesting.
Then they use it as kind of part of the carrot and stick approach.
Gotcha.
actually, that one guy used to do that. Then he said that even he couldn't ejaculate, and he'd say he was like he came anyway.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So is it real or not? Well, it depends on what your definition of real is. The emotional piece of it is there. The endorphin release is there. There's no rule that says, unless you've negotiated a rule, that there can't be some degree of physical stimulation depending on your relationship. So you can get that in there too.
Gotcha.
I have been known to prevent people from physically moving, freeze them in place, and then apply stimulation that they can't do.
Now, see, that's what I like, the whole freezing. Get them, freeze them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just fun.
Oh,
yeah, because see, I have a problem with edging or with what's edging, right?
Edging, yeah.
Because if I do that, then I can't come at all.
That's a lot. I've heard a lot of women have that issue. That's a common thing for women.
It's like fuck it now, fuck.
A lot of people have that issue.
If I could just come, if I come and then I can come again and again and again and again. But if I just try to edge, I fucked myself and now I'm pissed.
Yeah, that's my T-bone. Two things. There's never enough dick, and she doesn't like to be edged.
I'm a woman. I'm multi-orgasmic. Why would I want to edge?
Well, if you got enough dick, you don't ever have to.
There you go. Some people are into the denial aspect of it, and that's why they.
Well, it's not. Yeah, I understand it will intensify the orgasm, but it's like if I have such a difficult time doing it, I don't want to do it. But if you can take me there with hypnosis, okay.
Oh yeah, we can get you there. We can also, usually what I'll do is instead of, okay, this is another thing that I like to say because it picked it up somewhere. There used to be someone on a forum that I frequent. Actually, I'm still a moderator on the forum, whose signature used to read, "I want to be an erotic hypnotist. I want to make people come just by telling them to." I am that fucking lazy. On command is nice, and a lot of people like that. I still feel like I want to put some effort into it. So I will use suggestions to start getting somebody really horny and aroused and turned on. I will find out what their hot buttons are. I will press them mercilessly, especially if they're mental hot buttons.
Yes.
Like if they're really into the freezing, I will freeze them, and then I'll stand there next to them and say, "Wow. You can't move a muscle, can you? I could touch you anywhere that I want.
Mm-hmm.
I could pick you up and move you anywhere I want. There's nothing you can do to stop me, is there?" And if that's their kink, you start watching them quiver, which is a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
And then when they're up there and right at there where they're ready to come, then I will go, okay, there's a count from one.
Really,
every number, and I will count slowly.
your imagination's your only limit on in hypnosis, basically, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Whatever it is that makes them tick or makes them excited, as long as they can imagine it or picture it in their mind, it can be used in a erotic hypnosis scene.
Absolutely. You can also make things sexy that aren't necessarily. I once made my wife orgasm to the word gingivitis. Just to prove I could.
Man, I'll bet toothpaste commercials were a bitch.
Didn't you develop some orgasm 5-finger punch thing, something or other?
I did. I did. That was something I picked up. The 5-finger orgasm, or the 5-point Thomas floating orgasm.
Yeah.
Yes, I might have watched Kill Bill a little bit too much. But not being personally into death play, I decided to make it an orgasm trigger instead of a death trigger. But yeah, I do. I teach that to people a lot. And it's so much fun. And I'll admit, I actually developed this with my wife because she used to say, look, I can't go from 0 to 60 in an instant, but people expect every woman to be able to do.
Right.
So I figured, okay, let's build something in that will let her take as long as her body wants to take itself all the way up to the edge and then come. And you know what? She's gotten better and better with practice. When we first started doing this technique, it could take a couple of minutes for that arousal to ramp up to the point where she would come. Now, 10, 15 seconds, she's ready.
Nice. I like that.
Hey, practice makes perfect. Hypnosis is a skill. The more you practice it, the better you get at doing it. And I'm not just talking about hypnotizing people. Being hypnotized is a skill that improves with practice.
Okay. That's fair enough. Now I can see taking T-Bone out to the farm supply store to look at all the baby chickens, and she drops in and then popping her there just for the shits and giggles of it.
That would be you would be. I'm sorry, but you would be a pedophile then, and you'd be a molester because I would be in a little state.
She's like 4 when it comes to baby chickens, I think.
Yeah, I know, right?
Animals.
Oh my God.
See, what I find difficult is that men just don't have the imagination. You're an exception, apparently. But most men, they just don't have the imagination unless it's something about them. And I guess that maybe that's the way it is they're in control, and so they can get into it more because, it's like they can't even figure out how to eat pussy, let alone fucking hypnotize me.
Honestly, there's a lot of submissive men out there. We're not all control freaks. I think really the solution to the imagination problem is just talk to people, listen to what they say, listen to what turns them on, take mental notes.
Yes.
Well, see, that's the problem. They don't listen.
Yeah, it's a skill that a lot of people don't develop. I don't want to damn my entire gender.
Right.
Like that,
I've already done it.
There are a lot of people. Yeah, so that's fine. I'll let you do it.
I said that there's exceptions to the rule.
Yes. There are exceptions to every rule.
And most men are actually submissive, too. It's been my experience.
Well, you're just a strong woman, and people tend to be afraid of you for whatever reason because you're strong.
Fuck them. I'm just a woman.
They're just about that.
I know, right? She's a tough one. She's a tough bird.
I am. I'm just a yellow.
A little in search of rubbins.
So... Rubbins, yes. She's got to have her rubbins. Lord knows she's got to have her rubbins.
So shall we talk a little bit about where you can go to learn?
Yes. Most definitely.
That seems like the logical place to go.
So just going to your house isn't cool?
Showing up at the door?
We can make a play date. My wife gets to play too. That's the only
Sweet. I'm good with that.
But generally speaking, if you don't happen to live within commuting distance of my house, or I'm not around because I travel a lot, there are other great ways to learn and practice with like-minded people. We have 4 annual erotic hypnosis events that happen throughout the year. The first one in January is Charmed. That's the one that I help organize, sponsored by Black Rose.
Yep. Okay.
The next one, which is coming up next month, I'm sorry, Charmed is in Baltimore. Next month, March, I have to look at my calendar to remember the dates. It's before Pi Day. March 9, 10, and 11 is NEHU, the New England Erotic Hypnosis Unconference, the original National Erotic Hypnosis event.
Okay.
That's held in Hartford, Connecticut. That is a really, really cool event. There's lots of new people there. In July, I want to say 10, 11, 12 is through there. So July 12, 13, 14, 15 in the Chicago area, Northwood, Illinois, is Entranced.
Road trip.
Yep, road trip. That one's close.
Road trip. There you go. That's an easy road trip. I'll be there.
Sweet.
We can get up there. We can do
Nice.
cool
Awesome.
stuff.
Yeah. That one's in July.
That was in July.
Oh,
July
good.
13th,
I don't like
14th.
Chicago in the winter.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
writing
well,
these
Pretty
dates
moist
down.
in the summertime,
That way,
I'll tell you that.
that'll be just after. That'll be before the pig roast too. See, in case you didn't know, me and T-Bone run Club Ascension here in the Detroit, Michigan area. So we run educational events and parties. We're lots and lots of parties.
Cool.
So we may even. I'm not sure how far
We'll
Maryland.
come up and do a class
Huh?
here. No, if you want to, we should talk. I'll come up and do a class.
Yeah, that's what I was just getting ready to say. Is I'm not sure what the distance is, but I'm sure we can work on something to get you up here to do a class sometime this summer. There's a couple of big events that we've got. Well, big for our area, our local area. I don't try to go national with them, but we've got a chicken roast in the spring, which is usually Memorial Weekend, and then we usually do a pig roast for Labor Day weekend. And those are two pretty good sized
Last year we raised the pig and then killed it. Yeah, you'll never get that look of betrayal off their face.
Yeah, I'll never do that again.
Yeah, Gordon Ramsay did that a couple times too. Same
Yeah,
result.
I'll never do it again.
Yeah, you can't cook that off, I'm telling you.
But so Entranced July. Then in November, the very first weekend of November 1st, 2nd, 3rd, is Mindquake. That's in San Francisco.
Oh,
That could be a fun road trip too.
Oh, it is a fun road trip. Now, this is the first year for Mindquake. They just started up out there, and they've got a really awesome Concom set up. And, there's going to be so much cool stuff happening there. That's another one. I'll be there.
What's the date on that one?
That is November 1st, 2nd, 3rd.
I'm going to need a sugar daddy for that one.
Oh, I'm sure it's not that hard to
don't look
find.
at me. I'm broke.
So these things are happening. Those things happen throughout the year. There's local groups all over the place where people get together like once a month and have classes or have lunches or have practice sessions, like the study group that I'm going to visit this weekend after the Queen, the Black Rose SIG in my own hometown area. There's, I think, 2 or 3 different lunches and class things that happen every month in the San Francisco area, because there's a lot of kinky people in San Francisco.
Right.
There's a calendar that describes all this stuff that's happening. It's the National Recreational Hypnosis Calendar, which I would tell you the URL, but it's really long and convoluted because it's a Google Calendar.
Gotcha.
But if you Google for it, you can find it. It's visible to the public.
Okay.
It tells you where all this stuff
I'll
is.
add all of this stuff to the show notes.
They've named it recreational instead of sex.
Yeah, because erotic freaks
erotic.
people out.
Yeah.
Yeah, erotic freaks people out.
Right. It does.
But then there's also, several of us that are in the community as teachers do classes. Leah Lord does the London Hypnosis Workshop, which is going on right now in London. I'm going up to Montreal in April. I'm going to do a weekend intensive for the Montreal Hypnosis group up there. And I'm doing something out in Kansas City in June.
Nice.
I also, at least once a year, I usually do a teaching, an event of some sort for tests, some kind of an intensive class.
Nice.
We haven't scheduled one yet, but I know I'll be at Test Fest.
Okay.
So we get around. Well, of course, where your local BDM cons are happening, and if we don't have hypnosis,
Well,
there's
Chicago's definitely doable for us. So, and then like I said,
cool.
we'll work on trying to figure out how to get you in out to the club to do something out there.
Bring your recording gear, because you can probably record a podcast while you're out there and get to talk to some of these really cool people.
Yes.
It's just some of the people that are coming to entrance are coming from a long way away. There's a friend of mine is coming from the Netherlands.
Wow.
To entrance this year. Somebody else that I know is coming from New Zealand.
Wow.
Those are sugar daddies. Maybe I could find me a sugar daddy at one of them.
So there's going to be lots and lots of really, really interesting people out there that you can talk to.
You got any tips for people to kind of vet or feel out hypnotists from those that may be kind of unscrupulous? As we all know that the hidden observer protects us, but a really good unscrupulous person can find workarounds. So
yes, an unscrupulous person can lie to you, can deceive, can abuse power. And hypnosis doesn't actually have to enter into the picture for them to do
correct.
that. So, yeah. Some of the tips that I give people for vetting hypnotists, get to know them first. Anybody who actually walks up to you and wants to hypnotize you right away is way too eager and may or may not be somebody that you feel comfortable
Right.
with. If they're not treating you like a person, if they're seeing you as a fetish object that they want to play with, that's a danger sign. That goes the other way, too. If somebody is walking up to you trying to get you to hypnotize them, and they're just treating you as what we call a transcending machine, that's kind of an indicator that that's probably somebody you don't want to get involved with.
Gotcha.
So we're this. It never hurts to ask for references. Anybody who doesn't want to give you any is either a raw newbie or there's something they don't want you to know.
Right.
Really, a lot of the same things you would do to that dominant for almost any other kind of kids.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that got put out there too.
Mm-hmm.
You got any more questions there, Todd?
No,
if you see anybody wearing a badge that says Life Test Certified, then I'll vouch for you.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna look into the book for the second one, the class, the group. The study guide. Thank you.
Yeah, because I think that'd be cool to have a group here that did that.
Right. I know. There was a try. We tried. There was a few of us, a handful of us, back when I went through the HMI. That tried to kind of get a group started, but like I said, we caught a lot of flack over it, so we never really went anywhere with it.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, there are some people out there that call themselves erotic hypnosis experts that are either really, really sleazy or really, really intense.
Right.
And sometimes you don't find out about them until somebody else has had a bad experience. Something happened out in the Pacific Northwest last year. Somebody who was just absolutely egregiously bad violated the consent of all their demo volunteers and then some.
Wow. And
they wrote about it on Fetlife. The group wrote about it. And fortunately, I know somebody who lived in that area, Nazareth, and I actually wrote to him and said, look, you had a really crappy experience, and I'm sorry about that. I think if you'd like to give it another try, I think you should have Nazareth come talk to the group, because Naj is absolutely upstanding, ethical, and extremely good at what they do. And they had Naj come in and talk, and it went really, really well, and it just changed their minds entirely.
Awesome.
About erotic hypnosis. So, it's great that we have so many good teachers in this community that can be ambassadors for us.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of great people in the community. It's just more often than not, they don't
get the press. They don't
get the press.
Yeah, the sleep bags.
Yeah, that's the case no matter what in all walks of life and every way around us.
That's because bitches want to keep that shit to themselves.
Exactly.
The good ones we don't want to let out.
Yeah. Don't let the secret out of the bag for the good ones. I think we got a pretty good show on this one.